Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the tactical evolution of Batman's 3-year war strategy. We're looking at a deeply pivotal moment in Gotham City's history, a moment where a solitary crusade against systemic corruption was violently forced to adapt just to survive.
To trace this massive shift, we're going to hit 6 key areas: the 3-year strategy, the escalation, targeting the old guard, the Scarlet anniversary, the breaking point, and finally, forging an alliance. So, let's just jump right in.
Section 1. The 3-year strategy, a war of attrition.
Think about it. 3 years of solo warfare takes an absolutely massive physical and mental toll on someone, right? Even Bruce Wayne, we see him down in the Batcave pushing through these brutal 18-hour shifts without a wink of sleep. He gets so intensely obsessed with his forensic accounting that Alfred literally has to carry a tray of waffles down to the command center just to force the guy to eat something. So this long-term strategy of his, sure, it was noble, but it was actively draining him dry.
For those first 3 years, Batman's tactical approach was incredibly methodical. It basically relied on these core pillars to slowly, painfully amputate the mob's influence. You see, he believed that if he could just shatter the untouchable status of Carmine Falcone's organization and empower honest cops like Captain Gordon to actually do their jobs, then the symbol of the Batman would terrify the rest of the criminal element into submission. It was a war of attrition, plain and simple.
Which brings us to Section 2, the law of escalation, the Red Hood.
Now, here's where things get wild. This new enemy views Batman's strict strategic rules not as some kind of deterrent, but as a cage that's just begging to be destroyed. The Red Hood leader operates on a completely different philosophical plane than Bruce. Where Batman is trying to enforce order through fear, the Red Hood, well, he seeks power through the pure, unfiltered ability to inflict chaos.
When you look at this, the stark contrast is really something. You have Batman's surgical, psychological warfare right up against the Red Hood's absolute thirst for theatrical chaos. I mean, while Batman is busy isolating his targets in the dark, the Red Hood is actively chasing the spotlight. He's using public massacres and high-grade explosives to guarantee everyone is watching. It's a complete top-to-bottom clash of methodologies.
Moving on to Section 3, targeting the old guard, dismantling Falcone.
Look at how fast this happens. In a matter of just days, the Red Hood gang systematically dismantled Carmine Falcone's off-the-books assets and supply lines. I mean, they moved lightning fast, jumping from shell companies to historic drop points for mob payouts, and it all culminated in a super brazen theft of military-grade triggers straight out of an armored truck.
By so aggressively targeting these specific drop points and shell companies, the Red Hood essentially shoved the mob boss into a corner of pure paranoia. He's literally bleeding the so-called Roman Empire dry, and he's doing it with this terrifying military precision that makes Falcone's street thugs look like a bunch of schoolboys.
And that escalation leads right into Section 4, the Scarlet anniversary, the Gala siege.
Now you have to understand, this attack, it wasn't just some run-of-the-mill heist. It was a deeply deliberate, highly symbolic strike against the city's foundations and against Batman's legacy. The Red Hood wanted the absolute elite, the honest politicians, and the completely corrupt underworld figures trapped in one room together. Why? So he could just burn the old world down all at once. And he chose to do it right on the anniversary of Thomas and Martha Wayne's murders. Talk about making a statement.
The events at that gala perfectly demonstrate the absolute failure of the old status quo. The Red Hood hijacked this ultra-high-security event specifically to publicly humiliate Carmine Falcone and prove his infrastructure was totally broken. They cut the lights, dropped smoke grenades packed with this hallucinogenic joy gas, and literally took the entire room hostage. And here's the kicker. Even with Captain Gordon securing the perimeter outside, it actually took Batman stealthily infiltrating his very own home to break the siege and save those hostages.
So the ultimate takeaway here is kind of tragic. Batman's 3-year strategy of targeted fear accidentally birthed an enemy who figured out exactly how to weaponize spectacle. It's like when you spend 36 straight months building up this massive legend to scare criminals, a very specific, dangerous type of criminal is going to view taking down that legend as the ultimate prize. It became a full-blown theatrical arms race.
Okay, Section 5, the breaking point, Ace Chemicals.
300. That is the staggering number of armed Red Hood soldiers just waiting to ambush Batman inside the factory's mixing chamber. Picture this. They were standing shoulder to shoulder, just this vast sea of tactical black gear and unblinking crimson visors, all illuminated by these swirling neon green toxins in the background. It wasn't a gang, it was a literal army.
And this is exactly where a solo vigilante approach ultimately falls apart.
It fails when a tactical skirmish suddenly erupts into a full-scale three-way urban war. Because just as the 300 Red Hoods encircle Batman, Carmine Falcone's mobsters, who are out for blood after the gala, blow the reinforced steel doors right off their hinges. So now, Batman isn't just fighting criminals one-on-one anymore. He's totally pinned in a deadly crossfire between two massive warring factions.
And right at the climax of this chaos, the Red Hood leader completely weaponizes Batman's greatest weakness, his core directive to save innocent lives. The leader has captive reporter Vicky Vale, who, remember, had been investigating the Red Hoods, and he drops her toward a vat of chemicals. By just disengaging a magnetic lock on the crane holding her, he forces Batman's hand. Batman has to abandon the fight entirely. He literally dives off a catwalk to catch her midair. And it proves, definitively, that sheer numbers and absolute ruthlessness can outmaneuver a lone guardian who is tied to a strict moral code.
Then, right before falling into the chemical abyss when the factory's gantry collapses, the leader really hits the nail on the head. He highlights the ultimate flaw in Batman's entire three-year crusade. Basically, you cannot fix a crumbling city by just punching its shadows. You can't just be a ghost haunting a crime scene. When the city's at war, being a lone boogeyman, it's just not enough.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Forging a New Alliance, the Triumvirate. Realizing he absolutely cannot fight an army by himself, Batman forms a new, highly coordinated triumvirate to attack this systemic corruption from three distinct angles. It's an iconic moment. They're standing on the roof of the GCPD, right next to a newly converted bat signal searchlight. District Attorney Harvey Dent promises to fight the corruption by the book in the courts. Captain Jim Gordon pledges to clean out the dirty cops from inside the precinct. And Batman, he swears to do what the law cannot, operating from the shadows. So Batman's strategy fundamentally evolves here. It shifts from this exhausting, solitary war of attrition into a truly collaborative, institutional defense of the city. Together, they form this silent circle, forging an oath to make a clean sweep of Gotham, ensuring a massacre like Ace Chemicals never happens again. For the first time, they aren't just fighting the symptoms, they are finally fighting the disease as a united front.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Batman's three-year strategy literally had to die in order for a better, stronger alliance to live. But as Bruce Wayne quickly realized, the most dangerous jokes are the ones that take a really long time to tell. Can this new alliance actually hold Gotham together, or is the worst yet to come? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into Batman's tactical evolution.